Hello. You are listening to the Carroll Connection with your host, Jared Carroll.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Carroll Connection. I'm your host, Jared Carroll, here to bring you guys another great episode. Did want to take a chance to shout out my last episode 210, with Anthony from DGT Studios. Came on the podcast to talk about taking kind of his leap of faith into launching first his clothing brand and then now his media company, interviewing local businesses about kind of why they started. And I think that's a really great content idea. I think it's a great business strategy for what he wants to accomplish. So you can check that out at thecarrollconnection.simplecast.com. Also available Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the major listening platforms. If you like to watch your podcast, go on YouTube, search the Carroll Connection or at Jared M. Carroll, and it should pop up for you. And if you want to be a guest or return as a guest, hit me up on Instagram at Jared M. Carroll or at the Carroll Connection, and we'll set that up. As well as plugging the 5 Pillars to Create a Meaningful Life. It's only available on Amazon. If you buy the book, please read it, review it, submit the review on Amazon because it goes a long way in the algorithm. So that brings me to today's episode 211 with Brian Diaz.
How are we doing, Jared?
Welcome to the podcast for a second time, technically.
Yeah, the first time we had some technical difficulties, but we made it work.
Yeah. We had there was an accident that was at the main road, and that telephone, I don't know if you saw it on the way out.
Oh, I did. It was bad.
Yeah, they actually destroyed that. And
Yeah.
I was actually, I don't know how that was possible, what they did to that, but that car destroyed that pole. And I don't think they end up getting power back here. I ended up leaving because I just went out to my girlfriend's.
Because I was following it on Conconnect. They didn't say it was till 5 o'clock, and I know we were hoping it'd come back soon.
Oh, it was not till maybe 6 or 7.
Oh, really?
At least into my house.
Yeah.
So it was a long time without power on a nice sunny day. So
Yeah.
I was that's actually pretty sad. One of those things that never happened. So
Yeah.
it's I was obviously apologizing to you because obviously
Yeah.
you taking time out of your day to come do this.
Sure, but we're back. We're here.
Yeah, we're here.
Have a great
We're gonna
conversation.
dive into this stuff, and really excited to actually dive into this because we got literally cut off right in the beginning. So let's try this again. So Brian, just kind of let everyone know who you are and what you're doing currently.
Yeah, so I'm Brian. I'm 25. I grew up in East Providence, Rhode Island till 6th grade. Moved to Seekonk. Then I've been in Seekonk ever since. And now I run a landscaping business. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I went to college for a little while. Didn't really work out well. Ended up finding the business and really fell in love with it, and just been really locked in and focused on building it brick by brick ever since.
Yeah, and that's great. And I'm excited to dive into especially that college stuff, and then making that decision to kind of pivot to obviously launch your business.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that a little bit later in the podcast. And how I like to kind of open up the podcast is always dive into family dynamic. And for any new listeners, I always like to kind of give a little cliche of kind of why I do it. And I always use the metaphor of building a house.
Yeah.
And when for
Brick
me,
by brick.
yeah, when I'm talking about your family and where we're kind of coming from, I always think of the foundation, and that's obviously the podcast. So we're talking about your whole life story. So
Yeah.
when we talk about your family dynamic, I'm thinking about the foundation of a house type of thing. So
Yeah.
with that being said, with whatever you're comfortable sharing, I'll let you dive into what your family dynamic was like.
Yeah, so I have 2 sisters. They were awesome. I mean, we always battled growing up. They were always I was the one who was always peaceful, more reserved, and trying to keep order in the house, and they were the ones driving chaos. But they're great people. I love them. But yeah, so we were always going back and forth. I was trying to tame the tigers. They're always going crazy. So that was fun. And then I was always a kid who was kind of never really fit in, always a little odd. But it never really bothered me. I personally liked that a lot. It taught me a lot of valuable life lessons. Being able to operate in an environment where you're not always necessarily seen as the normal person per se. They're like, oh, who's this kid? What's he up to? I don't know. He's a little weird. But then able to overcome that over time, and then going to Seekonk, starting it all over again, and that was fun. But so back to the family. But I come from a big family, all Portuguese. So my mom has 9 siblings. I got 20 something cousins, huge. So I don't know all my family super well, but the family I do know that they were awesome. My cousin Serena, shout out Serena. She's been a rock for me ever since I was young, and yeah, that's kind of it when it comes to the family.
Yeah, did you have any big family gatherings with having such a large family like that?
Yeah, Not a ton, honestly. Like 4th of July, we do
Mhm.
something big. Christmas Eve, we do something big. But like I said, when the family's so big like that, it's tough to maintain close knit relationships with everyone because everyone's kind of doing their own thing. And then there was also a little bit family politics,
Oh
when the
yeah, yeah.
family's that big. And so, but I mean, I still know my family. I still talk to them, but it's not like I noticed, like especially when I came to Seekonk, a lot of people have smaller family, way more. Like everyone knows everyone. Like I know all my family, but I don't necessarily talk to everyone like that. It's just so big, and I'm always every time we do a family gathering, it's like I'm meeting more family. It's like, oh my god, it's like how many people are there that are related to me, and even Seekonk finding out the people I'm related to like just through the grapevine. It's kind of awesome to see, but also it's like too much to manage all at once sometimes. But it really, I one thing I enjoyed about it a lot is that you kind of get to, because I'm the younger side of the family. My mom was a seventh child, so I have a lot of older cousins, and being able to kind of watch what their life journey was, see the decisions they made and whatnot, was like super helpful for me because it's like, all right, I can see like the order of events from like, okay, they made this decision, they think this type of way, and see the type of results that yielded them. So it helped me a lot for making certain decisions, and more importantly, not making other decisions, because I can already see what the effects of are of that decision. So that was awesome. I really, I have a great appreciation for it.
Yeah, and I think that's actually a really great point when we're talking about families and getting real life examples of people following different life paths and seeing what X cousin or Y brother is doing, or Z sister, and watching what they do and like kind of analyzing, all right, well, if they did this and that's what happened, maybe I do this and this will happen instead. And I don't know if everyone always looks at their family like that or analyzes like that, but I definitely would look at my older brother and kind of see his life path. Or I have a lot of
Sure.
older cousins as well that we have a big like family, both on my mom's side and on my dad's side.
Yeah.
And
So you
being
know
able to,
how it
oh
is.
yeah, so you see all the different life paths and you
Yeah.
get that real life example of like what to do and what not to do. And obviously like society changes, so like when they were growing up is different when you're growing up, but still
Sure.
the same kind of principle is
Yeah.
there of like knowing what to do and when to do it and like why they made that decision.
Yeah, the core life principles are, are
Yeah,
are pretty much uniform no matter what time you're living in, as far as like handling relationships, managing people, like and stuff like that. But obviously, through the times, certain things like we got the internet. Like some of my older cousins, like they were around for the internet. It was just like MySpace when they're growing up, and now we got TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all of them. So that really changes the game a little bit. But I mean, it also depends on your personality. I'm not super on the social media apps all the time, but I know a lot of people like them a lot, and they really, I mean, they're powerful. They can help people a lot with a lot of different things. But I feel like from aspect of like always comparing yourself to other people, it could really be detrimental in other ways. But you got to have a good mindset with it, be really confident who you are, not really, comparison is the thief of all happiness, right? You don't want to be doing that. Like, know what you are, what your goals are, but also be able to look at other people and see what they're doing and not be like, oh, I'm not, they're there, I'm not there. Like, oh, that sucks. What am I doing? Just be happy for them and just continue on your road. I think it's a really healthy way to look at it and process it.
yeah, I would totally agree. And like just to build off that, like I think that's like a huge like mountain for people to like overcome, especially nowadays with social media, is you compare yourself to everybody.
Yeah.
Like it's just,
It's in your face all the
yeah,
time.
and I think part of it is natural. Like I think
Yeah.
there is a natural inclination inclination to compare yourself to other people. And I
Mm.
think on some level it is healthy. Obviously, we take it to the extreme, especially with social media. You're gonna be like, damn, this person's doing this and I'm not even like doing anything. And it's
Yeah.
like in reality, they're not doing anything. They're just posting their highlights.
Yeah.
But that's what we see on social media. So we all we can go by is what we see. So if we
Yeah.
see someone doing something, we're like, damn, they must have this or be like this. But in reality, they're probably nothing like that. And that's just a great moment they're having, or a great like aspect of their life that just happens to be in this place or with
Yeah.
this job or with this person. It's all different.
You definitely need to have the maturity to take a step back and like process that though. Cause I mean, when you're younger, especially, that's why, you know, that's all the research coming out on the effects of social media on youth. Cause when you're at that age, you're not able to really take a step back and have that maturity to understand that. You're just more locked in on like, oh my God, they did this. They're hanging out with these people, and that's no good. But Yeah, no. So, but hey, social media is an awesome thing. It was for a sense of like I started my business off social media, and same for you as well. Like that's a really powerful thing that wasn't always there. Like for other generations, and I think it's an awesome tool for allowing people to like express themselves and their passions. Because otherwise, like think about how you can't do something. You have to get a radio show if you're trying to do what you do. Like for me, I got to go knock on doors. Like where everything's got to be word of mouth, which I mean it works, but like nothing like social media though. Just the connection with all the people, just a click away.
Yeah, the outreach that you can get to, and just like you said, even just like for something I do, like there's not a path for me to do this otherwise. Like radio, you need a whole career. Like I would have had to make a whole career pivot
Yeah.
to even try to get into that. And obviously, back then the radio is a big thing because like that's all they had really in
Oh yeah.
terms of like media, and
As
obviously
far as
they have digital and stuff, but like
yeah,
that's a whole different like industry
yeah.
basically. But like in terms of podcasting, radio is very very similar. And like even me, like I watch like 98.5 the Sports Hub. Like
Mm,
I like it because it's really a podcast, but
yeah.
obviously it's the radio, but they're just on for X number of hours, and it's just another form of live
Oh
podcasting
yeah.
realistically. And that's kind of like how I looked at it, and I enjoyed that. So it's like to do what I do now, like back then, I don't know if I have the capabilities to even self launch either.
Yeah.
Like you can't just self launch a radio
Just pick
station
one
like
day
that.
and
Like you're
just
not
be
gonna
like,
be.
"Yeah, we're launching." Like, no, that's not how that works at all. But
Yeah.
there's a lot. I'm sure it's giving you a lot of freedom and whatnot. But I like it a lot too because I listen to podcasts all the time, and I really think there's so much to be learned from it. Because like I'm a landscaper. I have my business, Clean Cuts Landscape and Maintenance. Give me a call. Got a Facebook page. We'll get that linked up. But um, as far as being able because like work my hands are always occupied but my mind's not, so I'll being able to listen to podcasts, not all day but most of my day, and really like be able just to learn, get 1% better every day, right? Just learning a little bit here and there what I can. And I'm a little junkie for self-improvement, so like the Jocko Willem podcast, I'm on that all the time, like Jordan Peterson, I'm on that all the time. And it's just awesome. It's really made a huge difference in how I view and interact with the world. And I don't have that otherwise, right? I mean, I can't listen to radio at work. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and man, the knowledge I've gained from it is so awesome. I really appreciate the podcast genre as a whole, and how it's emerged in the last 5-10 years.
Yeah, it's changed the culture because like you're saying, like when you're out like doing your actual work, if you don't have a phone or an iPod, like going back several years, you're probably not being able to listen to the radio without internet connection or Wi-Fi. And like, how would you even listen to any like source of media when now you could be working and getting actual information or getting some type of motivational thing or getting an
Yeah,
update on like your favorite video game or favorite football team or basketball team, like whatever information that you're looking for, you can get that while doing your job.
yeah,
And that's changed because of podcasting, because of social media, because of technology. And you could argue the negative side of that, but obviously the positive side is all the information that we have access to nowadays.
sure,
And
yeah,
like that opens all these different doors to new relationships, to new ideas forming, to new like networks being created. And like when I look at even just like myself or my podcast, this is episode 211.
yeah.
I've been doing this we're now on year 6 of doing this. It'll be full 6 years in November of this year.
There you
But
go.
like over 5 years of podcasting and connecting with people and interviewing people, and the growth that I've experienced and the knowledge that I've picked up from just different people, like, is insane. Like, we're a lot of the people that come on the podcast, we're just everyday people,
Yeah, oh
like
yeah,
working different jobs, doing different things from all different walks of life. And I think that's the value of being able to host a place like this, is to invite people in, to interview them, to ask them why they do what they do, and kind of just see what their life story is on some level. And
yeah.
having those conversations weekly, bi-weekly, whenever I'm able to, has changed me as a person. So like
Oh,
even just
100%, I can
listening to
imagine. Yeah.
podcasts has changed
Just the
people.
amount of perspective you were able to get, where otherwise you're just living in your own world, and you're not even you're clueless on how other people think and see and what vantage point they're looking at the world at. But that the podcast and social media thing was a huge influence in my decision for leaving college to go pursue the business. Because I mean, I was looking at my college experience. It was good. I went to BCC. I liked the school a lot, but it was kind of tough because when I went there, I started essentially behind, and nobody told me that. Like I wanted to be
Mm.
a civil engineer, and I had to take two prerequisite math classes that were offered in two separate semesters. So by default I'm a year behind on that, and then all the math that builds off the rest of the engineering degree, like you can't take until you take those two. So I that put me really discouraged me. It felt like I was starting in a hole, and I tried to dig out of it, but it didn't end up working out. But then I felt so enabled because of all the knowledge I'm able to gain, like we said, from social media. There's so much research, and I've been blessed with some great people around me too, good mentors to help me out, give me a lot of advice on it. And but yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for social media, though, just so much I learned on a daily basis now, and even when I started, just from going on the internet, talking to people, like connecting with people that before, I mean, sure, you could still do that, but you're limited to only the people you've actually met and you only know, where now I can, there's someone, Brian's lawn maintenance in Michigan. He's posting content all the time, like in guides, like buying guides, all this stuff. And I can leave a comment and he can respond. That's something that's, seems small, but hugely valuable to people, because that's where people get the information to take that jump to do whatever their, passion or pursuit is, to help enable that.
Yeah, I don't start this unless I see other people podcasting. Obviously, I always reference Joe Rogan as a huge
Awesome. I
inspiration.
listen to his podcast a
Yeah,
lot too.
and it's like I don't even listen to it as much as I used to.
Yeah.
But like I always accredit like me starting this to that. Like seeing someone just like interview so many different people, and like obviously he gets way more political than I do on my podcast.
Yeah.
But like he would go into these different conversations in different places, and like I always think he's really great with like actually trying to read the material that say he has like an author on or a researcher on. Like he
Sure.
tries to
Yeah, he does his
actually
research.
he tries to actually do the research. Obviously, the more influence that he gets, the more businesses he has, it's going to get harder to do that. And obviously, over time, it's going to be less and less. But he does try to really meet his guests like halfway with stuff, and I think that's like such an admirable like quality of a podcast host, to be willing to like research about your guests. Like obviously when I do it, it's a little limited, like I'm going based off of people's social
Yeah.
medias. That's really what I'm limited to, because like we're all not all famous people
Yeah,
writing
you
books,
can't
and
just find out information on everyone
and
like
on
that.
top of that, I try not to say they do content or something like that. I don't want to watch it because I don't want to create a bias
Yeah.
of who they are based off their
Yeah,
content.
you want to just sit down and talk with them.
Yeah, I just want to talk to them. If I see they do content, or see they have a business, or see they do something that is different than just like working normal jobs, like, and there's nothing wrong with the jobs, but I'm trying to highlight the cool things that people do aside from their normal
Yeah.
jobs, and like
And
that's
stuff
the
that's
point.
not so obvious, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's not always a place for local creators or businesses to just go and just talk about what they do. So like
Yeah.
that was like the vision, was to create like a hangout interview conversation type of thing, where
Sure.
I'm inviting people in, I'm talking to them for a little bit, trying to get them comfortable, and then I'm asking like important questions about their life and like why they do what they do. So like taking the time to get to know them in that pre-interview is super important to me, because I want them to understand where I'm coming from, how I created this,
Yeah.
and then they can make their own connections. And then hopefully, when it leads to the actual recording of a podcast, they feel comfortable to share information.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of like always been the thing. It's like, how kind of lame would it be if I like invited you over for a podcast, we sit down, I hit record, and then we start recording, and there's
Yeah.
no chatting, just like,
No.
all right, we're just gonna do this, and
Just jumping right
yeah,
into
just
it.
that's
It's
just
kind
not
of cold. This is
yeah.
gonna be a little bit of ice breaking period, but you get that out of the way with the pre-interview.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I
But-
try to do that, and I think it's good to do that. Not
Yeah.
everyone always does that. I
In
feel
our
like.
pre-interview, I know you played football. I played football. We talked a lot about football. Do you feel as though football helped you with your jump to taking that leap of faith to start this?
Yeah, I would say what the crazy thing with football, and like we'll start to make the transition into like childhood friends, and we'll
Yeah.
get into like sports and stuff like that in football. For me at least, football was like my identity for most of my life. Like playing sports, being like a student athlete, like that was like my thing. And then obviously you get older, you start to work jobs. You worked at like Showcase Cinemas when I was
Yeah.
younger, worked at a Best Buy, I worked at Stop and Shop. Like I did those jobs, but those were, some of them were a little bit post high school and some were during football. But I would say like the work ethic and everything that I learned through football or through sports has helped me stay consistent with this.
Sure.
But when I lost that identity with football, when it ends like Thanksgiving game, it's
Yeah.
over. And I lost myself through the college experience, through senior year of high school, trying to figure out who I am and what I'm gonna do,
Yeah.
and you follow the path that they tell you to do, and you end up in a 9 to 5, and then you're like, where did the fucking time
Yeah,
go?
yeah, it just flew
And
by.
then it wasn't until I moved away when I was in Texas on my own with a job with new friends, supposed to be living this great life, where I'm like, what the fuck am I doing here?
Yeah.
And that's when I started the fitness journey. So I got my body a little bit in a better shape. And then when I moved to Georgia, where I was in a toxic work environment, where it was like the second, like, affirming of just like, this shit sucks. Like, what
Mm.
am I doing this stuff in a place that I just don't want to
Yeah, look
be?
in the mirror moment.
Yeah. And it like lit this idea to start looking around. And like
Yeah.
at the time, my brother was into Twitch streaming, and I was like, it's cool that he's doing that. Like, it wasn't like a crazy big thing, but it was like I thought it was cool. And I was into Joe Rogan, and then that led me into researching about podcast, and then boom,
Yeah.
decided to create a podcast.
See, for football, for me, like, so like I said earlier, I moved to Seekonk when I was in the 6th grade, and that was a whirlwind because you go to school, right? Nobody knows you. I look a little funkier than the average Seekonkian, right? I had a mustache in 6th grade already, didn't really fit in, and so I mean that adjustment was tough. And then I didn't start playing till 8th grade, and when I first started playing, like I wasn't a kid who had like great confidence or anything, but like starting it really like started me on my self-improvement journey and taught me a lot of great principles. And because I think a lot of it's like in life is like having those wins to look back on and remind yourself, like, that you are capable, you can do those things. And football was that for me because I first started playing, I wasn't really good, but I was just excited to be on the team, and get out there and meet the guys, make friends. I was starting to get before I didn't really have a lot of friends before football. Like I said, I was only in Seacon a couple of years, so it really opened up my social circle, really did a lot of things for me life wise. And then I really just bought in, locked in on it, started practicing crazy, like doing all the off season workouts. And then, ended up being able to get pretty good at it. But like, even now at my age, like, I still look back on a lot of lessons I learned from football, like next play mentality, something stupid like that. But like that correlates to anyone in any walk of life, like you have a bad day, cool. Like next day you gotta forget about it and move on because days keep coming and you got to keep rolling. And then for me, that's why like that confidence to be able to start something, because right, we're not big dudes, we're not supposed to be good at football, right? Granted, we got a little benefit, we're in Seacon Division 4, we're Division 5, whatever we were at the time. But like being able to go out there, become good, is something that for me at least, was something I always can look back on and be like, hey, if I'm ever worried or a little nervous about doing something, like, hey, like I've done this, I've done this, like I'm a very capable human being. And that is like springboard to me into a lot of things, including launching the business. And even now, and not as much with the business, there's a little bit different correlation, but like it's still every day, I'm leaning back on the things I've learned in football and carrying it into daily life.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point you're hitting too, with like just like starting and like going to the next day, focusing on the next day, and like also it kind of builds off of what we were talking about in the pre-interview, where I was talking about like losing weight.
Mm,
Like once you do it once, you can do it again.
yeah.
Like, and I've always kind of like seen that correlation with like sports too, is like having those real life examples of like overcoming like odds.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned,
Builds your
obviously,
confidence.
yeah, we
There's
like
no doubt about it.
we
And the
were
more confident you are, the more willing you're going to be able to tackle certain things. Where if you never had that win, you're gonna everything you're gonna look at is be like, oh, I'm not good at that. I can't do this. But it builds that self belief through the wins you've been able to manage in life. And the win doesn't have to be the glitz and glamour of like everyone sees. It could just be something in the shadows where no one knows about. But for you, it's a win, and that's all that matters because you can now carry that into the next thing.
yeah, and I like you're saying kind of like really with the whole like us being a little bit shorter and all that stuff and struggling. Like I remember when I first started football, I was terrible. I was fucking like
Mm,
old lineman, like backup. Like I wasn't even like I wasn't fast. I hadn't hit puberty yet.
yeah.
Like just throwaway player.
Mm,
Like, but the thing with football is it's results based. Like
yeah.
if obviously you're not gonna get into the politics of parents and all that stuff.
Yeah.
A totally different thing. And that exists.
Very real thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that exists. But having the discipline to work hard and put yourself through difficult things and seeing where other players or friends are and trying to emulate that, seeing what this person does at practice versus that person does in trying to get better and doing those off-season workouts, like going to those drills, like having the coaches know your name and not just be like one of those throwaway players that stands on the sideline
Yeah.
that doesn't care, just wants to be in the team. Like those things add up over time, and then hard work, I know it's cliche, but pays off. Like if
Yeah.
you show up and do the things you're supposed to do over time, it's going to work out. Like I'm a
Mm.
big believer, like things always work out if you're a good person, you work hard. Like no matter what, the shittiest things could stack up over and over and over and
Yeah.
over. But if you just believe that things are going to work out, I firmly believe that they will. And like
It's just trusting the
if
process right
yeah,
there.
and if it's not the end yet. It's still there's still more
Yeah.
time. Like things will get better and they do eventually get better, but like that's also like a self-belief thing. Like I
Yeah.
can't tell people just to believe in themselves. Like if you don't believe in yourself, so things are gonna get better, they're probably not. Like
Yeah.
that's just like a whole mindset thing too
Yeah.
on top of that.
Yeah, but like they got to get that win, right? That's what it comes. Like I'm big. Like every day, you got to start the day right. Stack the wins. However you can get them. Whether it's something simple as like, hey, make your bed in the morning, or if it's more like, hey, send all my emails or texts out by this time, whatever it may be. Like that's huge because like you know, Deion Sanders quote here: "Look good, feel good, play good." I live by that. Like and it really has made a huge difference in my life. Because it keeps your mental state in a place where you can always perform your best. You're not in I don't feel good. I'm not the type of guy. I don't do those type of things. Like I, people have valid excuses in life, but I feel like it's a very dangerous game because you can convince yourself all types of excuses on why you can't do this, that, and others. And I think it's important to try to tear down those barriers, that you build up because you're trying to shelter yourself away from the possibilities of things like failure, right? I think it's real important to embrace failure. That's where some of the best learning, especially if you're younger or even if you're older, it doesn't really matter. Now, you don't want to be, running into the wall 30 times and be like, you're hoping, where's my success? But like, obviously, like, if you do a little research on what you want to do, figure out if that's something you like. And if you like it and it's really something you want to go down, don't be afraid to fail on it. Just keep, and keep hammering, learn from your lessons and just keep on, trusting the process, doing the work.
Yeah, that builds off the social media and like the sports aspect of it, of just like there's so much body of work out there on the internet to learn from. And then on top of that, like just keep hammering away at this. Like, and then at a certain point, like if you're hammering away at something and you're not getting the results, that's when the pivot has to happen.
Yeah,
Like, look at yourself in the mirror, and it's gonna suck. There's gonna be something that you probably don't like. Like, if I look at the podcast, there's probably things that I could definitely improve, whether
sure.
it's like the quality of the cameras, the editing, the thumbnail. Like, there's always something to improve. But it's gonna come to a point where what's working for you and where do you see yourself and where do you see your business or your passion or your product going? Like
Yeah,
it depends on what your vision is. My vision might not be I need to get 1 million subscribers by this day or
mm,
this month or this year. Like it's not my goal
yeah,
to say it, but it's like if it happens, great, cool. I'll do it along the way. My goal has always been and always will be to enjoy the conversations that I'm having with the person. And when there comes a day where I don't want to do that anymore, I won't do that anymore.
yeah.
Like, and that's like a huge thing where if you don't enjoy something that you're doing, like whether it's a passion or
The
whatever, or a
passion's got to
job,
be first. It's the foundation. Like even with my business, I mean, when I was a kid, just pictures of me. My grandfather would be using the push mower. I'd be right next to him with my little toy push mower. Like he ran excavator. He was a great inspiration in my life because my parents were pretty busy growing up. So my grandparents lived next door. So I was always following my grandfather around trying to pick. And he ran excavator. He was a construction guy. So I'd be in the backyard with my little excavator sitting on him, digging huge holes. Like my parents go outside, look, where's Brian? I can't find. And they look in the yard, and there's a 4-foot hole, and I'm at the bottom of it, having a great time. But like the passion is like 100% it's got to be the foundation because like we were saying, with like you're gonna fail, especially if it's not something you've done before. Because there's so much you only know what you know, and there's a lot you don't know. And but being able to have the passion to always be the foundation of why you're in it, it will allow you to be able to get through those you know periods of time because when you're at the beginning it's not just going to happen, oh, I'm going to learn how to do it in a week. No, it's going to take years and years to really perfect your craft and get it down to a science. But when you have the passion behind it, now you can manage those days that are really bad, tough L's. You can kind of sit there and be like, see the silver lining in it, and take some positive out of it. Where if you hate it, you're just like, oh, this sucks. What am I doing? You'll quit on it a lot easier. And I mean, maybe sometimes it's a good thing, because if it's not for you and you don't have the passion there, probably should quit, right? It's probably not an avenue you want to keep investing in. But on the ones you are passionate about, oh, I think people should really, not be afraid to double down on it, and really ride it out and see the potential of it. Because we only got one life. You don't know, uh, you know, like how long we're going to be here or anything like that. So you might as well make the most of it while you're here.
Yeah, and I've always looked at it too. Like, I think that's a great point with just like the passion, like fueling it.
Yeah.
Essentially, like I feel like part of the reason that I've been able to outlast other podcasts within like my friend groups or like the network in the area is I just enjoy doing podcasts. Like I don't
Yeah.
force myself anymore to do ones that I don't want to do. Like when I first started, just to hit a number, I would definitely do solo episodes so I could get another podcast recorded.
Mm,
And at the time, I think those were beneficial. Like it was me working on podcasting skills, like one on one, talking to the camera. And the topics I was talking about were important to me at the time. So like they weren't just like throwaway episodes, but they weren't my favorite
yeah.
because my favorite is talking to people. Like that's why I started this. So
Oh yeah.
just talking to the internet essentially
Solo is
is
kind of
is not as
seems.
fun.
Yeah.
Like I mean, it's good for me because I always looked at it as like a recorded journal session. So like
Sure.
that's the mindset I would go into it is like, all right, this is my topic. Talk to it like I would write a journal, basically,
Mm,
and that's the way I approached it, and it made it more enjoyable. But nothing is more enjoyable than sitting across from someone and having an interview on a Friday night or a Saturday, and just like,
yeah.
being able to talk to people about why they do what they do,
Yeah.
and that passion has allowed me to do this for over 5 years. Like, if I don't enjoy it, you'll know. I'll stop. Like,
Yeah.
there'll be no more Carol Connection. I'll be done with it.
Yeah.
And there is going to be a day where that happens. Like, I'm not going to do this forever. There's no way that I can do this forever. It's just like things change, priorities change. Like, I want family. Like, that's something
Yeah.
I want. But while I'm young, while I have the resources, while I'm able to, I want to create something. I have created something.
Yeah.
I've wrote a book. Like
Yeah.
like all these things stack up over time, and it's like the consistent pursuit of like chasing that passion, like igniting my like flames to keep going. Is like
Yeah.
there's going to be another one, and like it even goes in the point of failure. Like there's episodes that I'm like, yeah, not a great episode. Like
Yeah.
whether it's me having a bad episode as an interviewer or the guest maybe not giving me what they like I feel like they should. Maybe
Yeah.
they're being reserved. Maybe they're shy because the cameras. Like
Sure.
whatever it is. Maybe it's a bad solo, but those are gonna happen.
Oh,
You just keep going,
yeah.
and that goes into that whole next day thing.
Yeah.
Next one, and just
For
keep going.
next play, yeah, 100%. I still tell myself that all the time. And for me in my field, like landscape is tough work,
Mm.
and this, especially if you're gonna try to run the business aspect of it, it's like, all right, you're gonna be doing the tough work every day, and you got to show up every day. People will count on you to show up every day, and also you got to do all the behind the scenes stuff too. And you can't, even though that's the part I'm a little less passionate about, I still got to come to it with the same, investment that I have for the rest of the business. And it's really like I could do this stuff all day. I tell my clients, it would be 90 degrees out. I'm doing mulch, and they're like, "Why? Why? You're not talking. You can take a break." I'm like, "No, I'm having fun. Like this is another day in paradise for me, because I'm getting my workout in. I'm getting, I'm making a little money, which always helps, and I'm building my business, and that is the mindset, right? The frame of mind you set for your day, I think, is extremely important because that having a resilient mindset slash mentality is what's going to allow you to see the light in the darkness, get through the failures and stuff like that. Because there's definitely more robust mentalities to failure, and because this stuff's always happening in life. For me in my life, trucks breaking down, equipment breaking down, like people canceling last minute. If you have workers, they don't show up sometimes. It's like being able to deal with that. Yeah, you could sit around and be like, "Oh, this sucks. Oh, I got no luck." Or you could say the mentality of, hey, stuff's gonna happen. I gotta be ready to deal with stuff as they come and just take it as it comes. Not overthinking it, not trying to do too much, and I think everyone can do that set of mentality, or because that's something you curate, right? You take time. That's an investment almost. Like you got to take time, meditate. Really ponder on like how you can think about things in a way to make yourself a more resilient human being to adversity. Because right, there's some things you can never prepare yourself for, right? Like the loss of a loved one, or like falling out of a friend, a really close friend that you didn't expect. But like most of the everyday stuff, you'd be surprised how much you can really fortify yourself with just a good mentality and good perspective on life to make life a little easier, a little bit more manageable for you.
Yeah, and I think one of the cool things that you mentioned was on top of you really enjoying your job, it's also rewarding. Like you're doing something and you're getting to see like an end product that's because of your work.
Yeah.
Like when I think of like 9 to 5 jobs or even like in my industry, like it's not as rewarding. Like, yeah, sure, you could if for me, like if I solve like a variance or something, it's like a math equation.
Yeah.
Like and someone can't figure it out, but I figure it out. Like that's rewarding. But I think back on when I used to change like wheels and tires, put a new set on someone's like Jeep or something like
Yeah.
that. That's rewarding because I look at that, I'm like, that's really cool. Like I did that. Like I put that
You were able to
together.
help that person
Yeah.
needed that, you know what I mean? They can't go nowhere without new tires, you know? They could get in bad accidents in that example. Yeah, no, being able to be of service to other people is really rewarding, I think. When you actually get to see them and shake their hands after, and they see, like, that's one of the most rewarding parts for me, is like after I do a job, because to me, I mean, I do this stuff every day. I don't think nothing of it. It's just it's the expectation, like I deliver high quality product. But to them, to see them like love it and be so happy and like put the smile on their face. I love it because it also, back to what I was saying, like starting with the little wins, starting the days right. Like landscaping 100% does that. Like if you go outside, you have a house and it looks like shit. Like you're gonna be like, oh man, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I got no time for this. But you walk outside and it looks great, and you know everything's all tidy. You got nice lines and all that stuff. So you walk out in the morning, you look, and you'll put a little smile on your face. That's all you need sometimes to go into the next thing you do. You're already in a good mood. Now you look good, feel good, play good. Now you're in the mentality to kill that thing. You know,
It's crazy. A lot of it's mentality. Like with
100%.
approaching with whatever you do is like approaching stuff with a good attitude and a good mindset. Like half the stuff that you encounter in your life, if you just approach it with like a good attitude and a good mindset, you can get through it. Like like you said, there's certain stuff that you can't prepare for, and that's gonna be a part of life. Like
Yeah.
death is a part of life. It's gonna always be there, and you're gonna have to deal with it in some form or fashion, or losing a great friend, or a breakup, or loss of a pet. Like
Mm,
this stuff is gonna happen. It's how you deal with it, how you manage that is gonna set you up for long term success. Like
100%.
because like obviously there's going to be points where you're super sad and you're depressed and you're going to struggle to get out of certain situations, especially when you talk about loss of people or animals or stuff like that. But the sad cold truth about reality is it goes on.
Yeah.
Like there's another day. And even in those moments of loss, like I can think about just like the next day after those losses,
Mm,
whether it's on a football field, an
yeah.
actual relative, a pet, like the next day does come and it does get better.
Yeah.
Like it sucks hearing that. Like if you're in those like moments and you don't want to hear that from
Oh,
someone,
100, you in
yeah.
those moments, sometimes you wanna just be in it, and you don't wanna, like, you don't
And that's
wanna get
important too,
better.
though. It's
Yeah.
important to be in it.
Oh, yeah, you definitely need to take time, especially with the examples of losing loved ones and stuff, to take time to really digest and absorb that. But there's certain other things that, you know, you can think about. It's important to think about it, take what you can from it, like, process it emotionally, but the moving on part is
Hmm.
also really important. Like, it's definitely happened to me when I was younger. Like, sometimes you get knocked down and you just wanna stay down, you don't wanna get back up, but, like, that getting back up part and moving on is the most important thing. But, right, back to football, that's what I mean. The foundations is all lit. Like, there's a lot of, it's not just football. Any real competitive sport, I think, will do the same thing for you. You know, but like that whole get back up mentality. You know, dealing with adversity. Because when I played football, like I tore my ACL my sophomore year. I was the first year I was really getting to start and play. You know, this is my third game in, having a great game, 3 sacks in like a quarter and a half, and I got high low, tore my ACL right on the cusp of like thinking I'm going to start the rest of my sophomore year. You know, so that was something for me that was a real challenge, and I embraced it as a challenge. And luckily for me, you know, I had good people around me. You know, the trainers and good PT and everything. I was able to come back pretty quickly and have a pretty good season next year. But like for me personally, that's something like I'm extremely proud of, more of over than my career, like the football career, the landscape, or like anything like that. It's like being able to take like certain adversities that were unexpected, right? But like it's not a loss of a loved one. Like I'm still alive, my family's still alive. Like being able to keep a good frame of mind and be able to come back as soon as possible without being knocked down for too long, and getting better from it. That's like it's hard because you got to do. The only way people really get that is by practicing that. It takes practice, but that goes back to what I was saying earlier with the not always being the kid that fit in, type and background. It taught me a lot on how to just like, because sometimes I would try different things to try to be more cool per se, not cool, but like that's not the way you want to go. It's more important that you just be you, keep developing you, and if the others and if have some people that can check you and always be honest with you, but like those people are okay with you and think you're good and you're not making any major mistakes, and don't be afraid to just keep going down the process you're going down, even if everyone else thinks like, hey, what are you doing? What are you, this guy, why is he doing this, why is he doing that? Or if you're a girl, same thing, it makes no difference. There's always going to be the outside noise, and being able to tune that stuff out, focus on the people that matter in your life, and just setting that good mind frame mentality up, and just chugging day by day.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And I think when like, I guess some one of the core values I kind of have is like experience is like the ultimate like teacher.
Yeah.
In the sense, like, I'm the type that will ask everyone for their advice on a situation, whether it's like a job, could have been a relationship in the past, or so whatever it is. And I know what I want or what I want to get out of the situation, but
Mm,
I will still ask everyone.
yeah.
And people could be giving me really great advice and I should probably follow that advice. And it's probably the correct advice. But at the end of the day, I would always kind of lean on like, regardless, I need to experience whatever this is going to be and whatever outcome is going to happen from
Yeah.
it. Like, you could tell me, don't do this or don't touch the stove. Like, this is a bad example, but like,
Yeah, don't
especially as a
touch the
kid,
stove at home if you're
especially as
watching
a kid, like the kid's
it.
gonna touch the stove and
Yeah,
then he's gonna learn not to touch the stove.
yeah,
Just because you told him not to touch the stove doesn't prevent him from touching the
yeah.
stove. Like, touching the stove is what's going to prevent him from touching the stove next time.
Oh, yeah,
Or it's like when you ever see those the light switches in like classrooms or school, it's like, don't turn on.
yeah.
Someone's always going to turn it on.
Oh, yeah,
Like, there might have not been a negative consequence from that all the time, but like those situations, just because someone tells you not to do something or tells you something else might be better, like, you might still need to go through that experience to actually
yeah.
learn and then grow from.
Oh, yeah,
So like, I've always leaned on the concept of like, experience is the best teacher. You need experiences, and the more experiences that you can gather are going to help you become a more well-rounded person in the future. Obviously, that coincides with the fact of having a good mindset and like going through things, like overcoming obstacles. Like, things are going to happen, you're going to fail, but you have to get back up.
mm,
And a lot of those, like we've mentioned, stems from playing sports. And that's to kind of get to wrap that section up is why I talk about sports,
yeah,
because I want to know where people learn certain values or what sports they played to see what kind of maybe lessons that they've acquired that translated into their life, their
yeah,
business, their relationships, and that's kind of why I've done that. I do want to start pivoting towards like we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but your senior year going into like that college experience and kind of like why you chose to go that route and then ultimately leaving. I know we kind of talked about it, but
mm.
I want to dig it a little bit deeper and then start really diving into the business aspect.
Yeah, so, out of high school, I personally my senior year, I had a really bad concussion and a breakup, so I was already not in the best place of mind to go to college. I kinda wanted to take a 2-year break, 1, 2-year break. My parents really wanted me to go right after school, so, I mean, I looking back, I probably should have stood my ground, but, like, I caved into them because I mean, I understand where they were coming from too. So I went to school, and then, like I said, starting in the whole, as far as like the course sequencing goes, and then after that, I mean, I tried to stay and keep taking classes, but I would always end up failing out, and like I would always stop showing up halfway in the semester because, like we were saying on earlier, just the passion wasn't there. I didn't even want to be there. My mindset was more of like I need to like build myself back up before I try to take on this new venture, and it just didn't really work out. But I appreciate my time there. I mean, I definitely learned some things there because I had to change my major a few. I was all over the place with the majors because I kept getting kicked out. So, but I ended up being in business for a little while, and once I was in business, like I really got engaged in the business classes and learning from it because I've already been had a good taste of business because my parents have had their own small business as far as rental properties. So I've always helped with their business, and I took those business classes, and I really, got engaged in it. And then COVID happened, and then shortly after COVID, I decided to, just not go anymore. And I was like, this is just not working out. And I have this other avenue with the landscaping because I first started just working for other people. And I mean, I did it. I worked at some of my family friends, houses growing up. So I already had some experience there. But then I was able to meet some really great mentors and people who weren't afraid to show me the way per se, and which is I'm really blessed to have had because that really helped me enable make my decision because otherwise, I mean, it would have been sure there's still social media and stuff like we said, but it's way more daunting task trying to do something without that mentor that you can always like, hey, I what do you think on this? I'm just curious, or I'm in this situation, I don't really know what's best to how to handle it. What do you think I should do? And that was huge for me. And then so I after what 20 I did so I started the business. I was in school and worked and started in the business for 2020 and 2021 and 2019. And then in 2021, that's when I decided to go full time for myself after that. And that decision was strictly like based in like the failure of college, right? Because I was like, you know, this isn't working out. I need to do something. I don't really know where to go because the possibilities in this life are like endless, right? You can do so many different things. Everyone's telling you all these ways to make money and do a life that they think is good for you. But ultimately, I decided to go back and double down on my path. Like always like being outside. I like landscape, and I had a lot of experience doing that. So I was like, why am I going to bother trying to do this, that, and the other? When I got this thing right here, I got people who are willing to help me on this journey. I've done my research. There's definitely opportunity in this journey for me. So why not, take the chance and go down it? Because it's a lot easier to do it now when you know, I'm 25 now, but I started when I was 20. You know, and it's like I don't have kids. I live in my parents' house. Still live in my parents' house. But that like the flexibility to allow me to take the risk is huge, and you don't always have that in life. As life goes on, it's kind of harder, especially if you're building families, you're getting older, you got more people you're like relying on you for certain things. And so that it really kickstarted the failure of college really kickstarted me in a lot of ways to do it.
Yeah, what do you think were the most important like tips that you were getting from whether it's mentors or just experience that helps you launch that business?
For me, it was just follow the passion. I already knew I liked it a lot. I did research. Like anyone who's in a position like that, like you got to do your homework. Like be open to experience, try a lot of different things, see what you like, you don't like, where there's potential opportunity, but also knowing what you wanted in life. Like I know what I wanted in life. I don't necessarily like I've done a lot of research on financial literacy and whatnot, and I know that if you just invest right. You don't need it, and you have a good budget. You don't need to be making crazy amounts of money a year per se. Like you just need to have the foundation set, have a plan, and follow through with it. And I looked early on, and I found thought about the plan, figured out what I wanted, made a 10-year plan to start my business, and I just said, let's just do it. Follow the passion. I have the plan and set. I feel like the opportunity is there, and got the people. More importantly, having a support group around you is extremely helpful. Having like the mentors, even just like friends to pick you up when you're down, because it's not every day's sunshine and rainbows, even though we all like to act like it sometimes.
What do you think or how do you manage such a competitive industry? Because I feel like with landscaping, there's a lot of landscapers, a lot of different people
Yeah.
trying to start their businesses and launch businesses. You see businesses fail, you see businesses grow. So like how do you manage that underlying, I guess, underlying stress of being in such a competitive market? Because like obviously you're relying on getting customers, but you're also fighting people in your industry that are also trying to get those customers too.
Yeah. For me, it's a lot of it just self improvement. Goes back. I'm gonna sound a little redundant. It's back to self improvement. It's like, okay, I'm gonna put the work in to become the best person I can be every day. Because there's a lot of times in small business, especially in landscaping, like you the clients dealing with me directly, like in other landscaping businesses, like they're dealing with whoever the owner is of that one, or the salesperson in bigger businesses. But like being able to be a marketable person yourself is huge difference. Being a good person, having like just keep advancing yourself, because people see that, recognize that, and they want to most people want to, be a part of that. If they see you doing good and you're really trying, giving it your all, being passionate, and you're delivering a high quality product, like they'll stay with you. They'll pick you over the other guy. It's not always about dollars and cents per se. A lot of it is, a relationship between you and the client. I liken it a lot to the relationship like people have with a barber per se. Like for men, like some guys with a barber, they'll stay at the same barber their whole life. And like you said, like there's all kinds of different barbers. You could get haircuts cheaper, more whatever, but it's that relationship you build with the actual client itself that is what keeps the relationship for so long, and always being consistent, being a good person, just keep developing, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, I always jokingly say my longest relationships with my barber, 'cause
Yeah.
like he just it's been there since I was like a sophomore, junior in high school, and it's gone to him ever since. The only time I didn't was when I didn't live in the area.
Yeah.
So it's like that aspect of it is true. It's the relationship that keeps you going, the connection that you've built over the years, and them seeing you as a person and having more than just that. Oh, that's my landscaper. Like they know you a little bit more than that, and they can trust you that you're going to deliver on certain things because they understand your character and like
Yeah.
the effort that you put into your stuff, and even the fact that you mentioned just being marketable,
Yeah.
huge thing. Like a lot of people, especially in just social media or the internet age, like will sacrifice being marketable for just straight up fame and dollars. Like
Yeah.
they'd rather just be famous and have money
Or
or
appear
views.
famous or
Yeah,
important,
chase the
or
clout
yeah.
rather than just being marketable, which in other terms is just a good person.
Yeah,
Like if you're
really what it comes
marketable,
down to.
yeah,
Everyone loves a good person, right?
yeah,
But it's the guy who's like, oh, you see the person faking this and like acting this way, but then you see him in another regard and he's acting completely different. Like nobody really likes that stuff, It's a big turn off for people, and it's also important to be more than just your work. Like as far as the marketing aspect, like if you're just going to be dollars and cents business guy, like people have a successful approach for that, but to try to make carve out your own niche in an industry so competitive, like you're gonna have to do more than just be, yeah, I cut grass and blah blah blah, and not having any personality behind it. Like the people have to know who you are. Like you got to shake the hands, ask, have the conversations, like the little things that really add up is with stuff like that. And that just, I mean, that's my industry, but it applies to a lot of other things too. A lot of the stuff at its base layer can be taken to all kinds of different industries and applications. But
yeah, presentation matters. Like I don't think people want to admit it that it's true, but it does. Like the way you present yourself at work matters. The way you talk to your boss matters. The way you talk to your coworkers matter. Like yeah, there could be someone behind me that's complaining or talking too much. And in my head, I want to turn around and be like, yo, shut the fuck up. Like,
yeah,
I don't want to hear this while I'm working. But like, that's not presentable. No one's
no,
going to want to hear that. No one's going to want to be around that. You're going to come off as negative. Even if that person could be annoying,
mm,
like, you're going to one that's going to look like an asshole because not everyone perceives that as annoyance. Maybe they tune it out. Maybe they have a podcast playing. Maybe they're not caring what that person's
yeah,
doing. But how you're perceived and how you present yourself is someone that lashes out on someone is going to be perceived negatively. Or if I'm on a podcast, if I have ideas or beliefs that are against like social norms or society norms,
yeah,
like, and I say it on a podcast, I alienate myself from so many great possible guests just because I wanted to share my opinion about something random.
mm,
Like, there's certain things that you have to decide for yourself are worth saying or worth doing,
yeah,
and how people are going to perceive you, because perception is going to be the reality for some people. Like if they look on my Carroll Connection page and they saw a bunch of like crazy conspiratorial political takes, they might like write me off. They'd be like, I
yeah,
don't want to deal with this dude. This dude's a weirdo. Like I don't want to talk to this guy.
yeah,
But if you see me on my podcast talking about stuff that matters, people chasing their passions, talking about their
yeah.
mental health,
Talking
like
about
creating,
your own passions.
yeah,
Yeah,
creating like good relationships and all this stuff, you're like, I want to be associated with this person.
yeah.
I want to come do a podcast. Like
Yeah, like
that
a
matters.
lot of stuff I'm saying for me, it definitely applies to you. Like people, as far as podcasts, same thing. People also 100%, like at least I do, from the consumer's perspective. Like I, I will listen to a podcast because I like the person just as much as I like the content. Like in some cases, it's more about the person than the content itself. Because right, there's so like similar to the landscape and so many different podcasts, so many different people talking about similar subjects and going over similar material, but like how that person builds the relationship with the audience is what really gets to people to really connect and dive in and stay with you for long periods of time. Just keep listening, keep wanting to consume because they just want to be a part of the journey you're on. They want to be able to say they helped, they had a small place in it, and they were there from the beginning. And then you blow up one day, and now those original people watching are like, oh man, look at them now. And it's just a really fulfilling journey, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is people want to sell themselves out just to live their truth or be their person, and this is how I am. But it's like, I mean, you're entitled to live that way. That's totally fine. But like, you're gonna alienate yourself from other people.
You,
That
you live in a world of other people who,
yeah,
like, if you're
like
just like all about you all the time, like a little bit back to football, work. Another great thing is working in the team. There's all kinds of people you got to work with, and that applies to life and business. And like, you can be that way to job, work with a team of people. Like you could just be like, yeah, I don't like these people, and just alienate yourself from the in the situation, or you could be like, I really me and this guy, we don't have all the same things in common. I kind of don't like certain things, but I'm just gonna be open to experience. I'm gonna try to make the best of the situation and just try to build that relationship anyways because I'm on the team with them. I got to work with them, so I might as well make the best of it. But that also like makes you a more resilient person as well. Back to the resilience thing, because like if I personally aspire to have a family and kids one day, and it's like if you want that, there's gonna be days where you got nagged at work all day. You're gonna come home, the kids want to play, the wife's talking to you about this, and this need to get done or whatever it may be, and if you don't put the work in ahead of time to have that resilient mindset, you may get upset, start lashing out, and doing this and doing that. And I mean, I just think that's easily avoidable with just putting in the work in early. You know, and it's
yeah,
not easy to put the work in, but it's something that definitely pays dividends on the back end when you do.
yeah, for sure. I mean, just and to not even go into this part of the conversation, but like that goes even deeper because you lashing out affects not only just like your relationship with your partner, it messes up your kids. Like I saw this is gonna get a little crazy into a completely different topic, and we're gonna start wrapping up soon. But
I could bounce around.
but the it was like a reel or a study or something like that. I think it was a reel, and then I saw also on TikTok of like it was a child just playing with his toys and the parents or the adults just arguing.
Oh yeah, I've
And
seen
yeah,
this. Yeah.
and just the way that the child reacted, just like people don't always see that because they're in the argument,
Mm.
but that's gonna affect the children. So like even just building off that, like that stuff matters. Building these traits matter. Like how you deal with difficult situations matter. Like all these things build upon each other, especially when we talk throughout this podcast. And I think it's been great that we've hit all these different points too. Starting to bring this a little bit home. I do have that one more question for you about passions, but is there anything you wanted to say, or we'll plug your business at the end as well,
Yeah.
that we might have missed throughout the podcast? Like I always just like to give people a chance to say anything in case we missed it. If it's tied to the passions, I'd just wait, but I like to offer that just in case.
I got nothing right now. I think we covered a lot.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think we've hit a lot of great things and given a lot of great pieces of advice and things that we've learned through whether it's sports, school, friendships, relationships, family. I think a lot of these tie together. So, uh, Brian, for the last question I have for you, it is what would your advice be for someone who wants to pursue their passion?
I think it starts first with building a robust mentality before you even get there. Like that's step one. Like you gotta really ask yourself what you want in life. Like figure out where you're. Oh, you also got to be really honest where you're at. Figure out you know, like maybe I'm not good in this area. Maybe I'm good in this area. Like figure out what your strengths and weaknesses are, and then applying that, but to like what your passions are. Looking for doing a little bit of research, figuring out how much opportunity is there in that. What are the pros and cons of like your certain passion or field you're looking to pursue, and seeing that how that works in correlation back to the things you thought about in the first stage, building the mentality, figuring out what you want for your life. And if you see the overlap, and you're like, hey, I want these things, this pursuit can give me these things, and it's also going to give me these other things, and it's also something I'm passionate about. And at that point, now you just take the leap of faith and you get into it, and you can't be afraid to fail. You got to learn from your failures. Build a support group, get some mentors if you can. I'll keep saying that till the end. And having good mentors is the most helpful thing you can have when it comes to that pursuit, because it's not going to be easy. Like I'm sure it's not easy for you with the podcast. It's not easy I'm a little more established now. When I first started, it really wasn't easy. Like anyone in any new venture, it's going to be hard. There's a lot of lessons you got to learn, and that's why you build the mentality first, because now you have the resiliency and you know your why. Right, having the why is huge, and then you did the research to know why you are doing what you're doing, and that this will actually be something that can be fruitful for you, and then you pursue it. And you start going down the road, and you trust the process, and you keep putting in the work, and you just keep going until you get to where you want to be.
Perfect. I think that's a fantastic piece of advice for people that are out there trying to pursue their passion, because you need advice from people. You need evidence. You need like to do your research. And I think the mentor aspect is so super valuable, is finding people that either do what you do or in the field of what you want to do, or even going on, whether using your social media resources, YouTube and TikTok and Instagram Reels, like find these accounts of people that do what you want to do and see how they do it, and feel free to DM them. You never know who could actually answer by just reaching out to
Yeah, a
people. Like,
message costs nothing
yeah,
nowadays.
you just got to, at least right now.
Yeah, yeah.
But so like just try like and do these research things and find those mentors, and I think what you said was fantastic. So
Well,
Brian, I appreciate you for coming on the
no, it's
podcast.
been a pleasure.
If you could
Glad
look
we
into this camera, plug your business and everything.
So I'm Clean Cuts Landscape and Maintenance on Facebook. You can look me up. You got my phone number and everything there. You can see some of my portfolio of work, and then you reach out to me from there.
Perfect. So again, thank you for coming on the podcast. Sorry that we
Awesome.
had to do a second one, but I
It's fine.
appreciate you. For you guys, if you guys like the podcast, please rate, review, subscribe, share with your friends, share with your family, share with your grandma. Check it out, the carrollconnection.simplecast.com. Also available Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the major listening platforms. And if you like to watch your podcast, go on YouTube, search the Carroll Connection or at Jared M. Carroll, and it should pop up for you. And if you want to be a guest or return as a guest, hit me up on Instagram at Jared M. Carroll or at the Carroll Connection, and we'll set that up, as well as plugging the 5 pillars to create a meaningful life. Check it out on Amazon. If you buy the book, please read the book, and if you can, review it. I know a lot of you guys have bought the book and have not reviewed it, so please review it if you can. So yeah, until next time, guys. Peace.